Good to go.
Hi, everyone. Hi. My name is Tanya, and today we are doing a live Zoom class for Gelli Arts. Just to introduce myself, I am based here in the UK, and some of the things that I'll be showing you might be more UK based, but we can talk about that more so. And my goodness, there's so many people tuning in. It's so good to see everyone. Thank you so much for joining. So my name is Tanya, and I am a brand ambassador for Gelli Arts. And I have been working with the company for almost 3 years now. And I do all sorts of things. I make videos for Gelli Arts. I teach in-person workshops. And I also now do live streams, which is something very, very new to me. And it's been fantastic to be able to connect with you all like this. Now, today we are going to be doing gel printing. And what I'll do is I will go through the very basics of gel printing, first of all. And after this class has finished, I would highly encourage you to check out the Michael's YouTube channel for previous Gelli Arts Zoom lives that we've done. They go through all the basics and all the tips and techniques. Now, if you have any questions, we are more than happy to answer. I will do my best. To answer your questions, but we do have our brand, my fellow brand ambassador, Birgit Koopsen, also in the chat. We also have Madison, our social media coordinator, in the chat. So if you have any general questions, they will answer you. If there's any specific questions, someone will interrupt me and ask me any questions that you might have about anything that I'm using, any techniques or anything like that. So what we're going to do is I'll show you. We are going to be making some jewelry. So we're going to be making mixed media jewelry, and we're going to be gel printing on some shrink film. So I'm going to be using shrink film by a company called Grafix, which is available on the Michael's website. And I am going to be, this is one of the earrings. I'll show you the other one, what it looks like. Just a mixed media jewelry that I made with some book text on it. So if we can flip the camera around and maybe we can get started with the demonstration. So the gel plate that I am using today is by Gelli Arts, which is the company that I work for. And the plate that I'm using is the 8x10. So the 8x10 is the larger of the two plates that are available on michaels.com. And any of the products that I am using will be linked in the chat by our team. So if you have any questions about specifics, what paint I'm using, please do ask. I will do my best to talk as we are going along. So I've got the 8x10 gel plate here, and a gel plate is basically a very durable material. It's made of a very squidgy material. It's very soft, but firm as well at the same time, if that kind of makes sense. And it's great for monoprinting. So monoprinting, the catchline of the company is that you monoprint without a press. So I will do a very basic print, first of all, on paper, and then we will move on to the shrink film. So you can gel print on basically any surface. So one of the things that I often get asked is, what can I gel print on? And I will often say that if it doesn't move, then I will probably try gel printing on it. So anything you can think of, you can gel print on. So to start off, I will show you what exactly gel printing is. So I've got the gel plate here, and what you will need is you will need some paints. I am using paints by Golden. So I've got some fluid acrylics here. And I've got the Liquitex soft body acrylics here as well. So let's start off with some golden fluid acrylics. I'm just going to start off with one color, and I'm using a Brayer. It's a slightly soft Brayer by Speedball, which is also available on michaels.com. And what I'm doing is I'm just spreading my paint all over the gel plate. So you will notice that I didn't really put that much paint on my plate because a little goes a long way. So once my plate is entirely covered, what you can do is you can make some marks on your plate using things like the Gelli Arts mini combs. They come in 3 different shapes. And they're really great because they're soft, they're not hard. It's advisable to not use anything that's sharp on your gel plate to get your, to make marks on your plate. So what I'm doing is I'm just placing my piece of paper down. I think it might be a bit too dry right now. The weather has been very, very strange over here. I know that the weather really varies over there in the US as well, in areas where it gets very dry. And today, for some reason, it's very dry and it's very, very windy outside. So what I did was I put the paint down, I made marks with a mini comb, and then I lifted the paint with the paper. And this is basically a gel print. So this is the very basics. And then you can keep building up on these techniques, and you can make many, many different layers using your gel plate, which is what I'm going to be showing you. So then what I like to do next is I'm still going to use paper just to demonstrate what I'm going to be doing on the shrink film. Is I'm going to look at this paper and I'm going to think what's going to make a nice contrast over this. So I might just use actually a darker blue. And again, you don't need that much paint. A little goes a long way. And what I'm doing is I am brayering the paint. And what I'm doing is I am rolling the brayer and then lifting it so that I get paint transferred evenly all over the gel plate. And I do not like to, when I'm doing a session of gel printing, I don't like to clean my plate in between prints, because then that way I will get all the yummy bits that are there on your plate that will lift up. And these are little plastic circles that I cut out using packaging. And what that does is they will create negative space on my print. And making sure that I am rubbing it completely. You can use a Baron if you want, but I prefer using my hands because I like how the paper feels underneath my fingers. And then you can lift your paper to reveal that you've got all these negative places where I placed those paper circles as a mask. So you can see that my paint is drying. So for the next print, I know that I need to put a little bit more paint than normal. So I'm using slightly heavier copy paper, as Birgit said. And when we often get asked, us brand ambassadors often get asked, what kind of paper should I use, or what kind of paint I should use? And we always say, use what you have, try what you have, and then you can advance and try buying more expensive papers just to see what it feels like. So use what you have, don't worry about materials, just get your gel plate and start printing. So now I've got all this delicious dried paint on my gel plate. And this is going to be great because this is going to help create some more additional texture while I'm printing. So what I'm going to be using today is I am using Grafix shrink film. Sorry for the glare. And this is the clear one that they have. And you can shrink this. I don't know if you ever used shrink film before, but basically you heat set it and it shrinks down into size. And I'll show you the magic of gel printing, of how it shrinks afterwards. You can heat this in the oven, but I am going to be using a heat tool. Now the sheet comes in a size of 8.5 by 11. It is slightly larger than the 8 by 10 plate, which is perfect. And because it is clear, it's going to help me to center my print as well. So I'm just going to put this to the side for now. And we're going to put down our first layer. And we might do a couple as we go along. So if you guys have any special requests for color combinations, then let me know. And I will try and do prints with those color combinations. So with the shrink film, I'm using the 8 by 10 gel plate. And I am mixing my paints as well. So I'm using the Liquitex soft body. This is the yellow medium azo, and this is the Pyro orange. And I apologize if I'm mispronouncing any of the names of the paint because English isn't my first language and paint names can be a bit complicated sometimes. So I am spreading my paint around. You can see some of the paint that's still underneath, which is nice because we are going to see that paint lift up when we do a print. So again, I'm taking the Gelli Arts mini combs, which comes as a set of 3. And I am going to again create some patterns, some texture into the gel plate. The tools are very soft. You shouldn't use anything sharp because you don't want to be damaging the surface of your gel plate. And while the paint is still wet, I am placing the shrink film on top of the gel plate and just pressing it down to transfer the paint. So here I can actually see where I need to press because I can tell where the bubbles are, where the shrink film hasn't made contact with the gel plate. And now for the moment of truth. I'll lift it up, and here you can see what it looks like. Let me put a piece of white paper underneath and then you can see the color. So this is the beauty of working with a clear substrate like this. So then you get the colors really shine through like this. So I'm just going to set this to the side for now. And I've still got some paint left on the gel plate because the film is made of plastic. It won't completely absorb the paint, so it will just sit on the surface. So because of that, you will get some paint left on your plate, which is nice because then you can do what is called a second generation print. So normally, if you use too much paint, you might find that you are able to do prints over and over again and keep lifting the paint off the gel plate. Which is something you can try, but we suggest to use as little paint as possible So here you can see that this is, I used paper to lift up all the leftover dried paint that was on the plate. So this is great for me because I can use this for collage, and it's thin paper. So I can chop this down and turn this into like some art journal pages as well. And you can see that because I had a thin enough layer, it lifted what the paint from the previous print that was there on my gel plate. Now I still have some delicious paint left on my gel plate, and let's do a second print. So I'll do it again with the masks, but I'm going to add in another color. So I'm thinking, what color should we do on top? I'm kind of feeling a dark blue. I think let's go for a dark blue. So I'm using the Liquitex soft body acrylic. This is an ultramarine blue red shade. So this is one of my favorite acrylic inks these days, and kind of obsessed with this color. And what we can do is we can also add in a touch of another color as well. I think I might have a bit too much paint, but I'd rather have a little bit too much for now because it's unusually dry today. Because, oh, I know why it's dry today, because we've had the heating on, and we haven't had the heating on in a while. So I'm just making sure that the plate is covered with the paint. And then I'm going to take my masks again, place them down in areas. So they're going to form like a negative space. And then what I'm also going to do is I am going to take some bubble wrap and press that down over on top of those masks. So for some extra texture, because we like texture, and you can't go wrong with bubble wrap, can you? So now you've got that bubble wrap impression out there, and while the masks are still in place, I'm going to take my shrink film and take a second print. So, and then this time around, I'm just making sure that I am pressing all the way around those masks. So that the paint transfers completely. Are there any questions, Madison?
Hi, okay, so we do have a few questions. We have a few people asking if, since you are using the soft body acrylics, can a regular acrylic be used in this project as well?
Yes, you can use, basically, if anyone asks me what kind of paints can you use, my answer is yes. You can use anything that you have. I am very indiscriminate with using my paints. I will use soft body. The golden paints that I'm using here are fluid, so I'm mixing them up as well. And you will get a different effect depending on what kind of paints that you're using. So this is what the print looks like. So where I had the mask, you can still see the layer underneath. And if you wanted to, you could keep repeating the process as well. But I tend to stick to maybe 2 to 3 layers because that's my personal style. I'm more of a less is more person. Some people are definitely more and more. But I like to see nice bright colors. So which is why I tend to stick to a smaller palette. And also, when you're gel printing, if you're surrounding yourself with a lot of different supplies, then it's easy to get overwhelmed. Oh, what should I use next? What should I use next? So it's good to just sort of limit yourself to a few colors and learn. It's also worth learning a little bit more about color theory as well, to see what two colors that you could put together would go well together, which ones are contrasting, which ones are complementary, which ones you would put together would be mud, things like that. Like, for example, if I mix purple and yellow together, I know I'm going to get like a brown kind of color. I can see that someone has a question. If Madison could ask them, and then I can try on answering. So I can see a question. Would you mix types of pigments if you layer one at a time? Or do you mix together on a gel surface, say ink and acrylic together? Now you can do that, but you must remember that the viscosity of an ink and an acrylic paint are different. So what you can do is, in traditional monoprinting, I am not a traditional monoprinter. I love experimenting and I love playing around, and I will try anything. So in traditional monoprinting, what you would do is you would have a palette on the side and you would mix your paint on the palette, lift your paint with the brayer, and then apply it onto your surface. So that way you can mix the two together, but you can try mixing the ink and the acrylic on your surface as well. It will lead to some very interesting results, because the acrylic ink will bead up on the surface, whereas the acrylic paint will spread on the surface. Now I've got one print ready to go, but I think let's do another one. If you guys want to shout out some color combos that you want me to do, and then you can, oh, pink. Marsha says pink. Do I have a pink? I have a magenta, Marsha. Magenta, and teal. Yeah. Bright pink and green. So I don't have a bright pink here because I chose to just have very few paints here. I don't know if you guys can see. These are the only paints I took out. I mean, I have a lot of paints, but I decided to just have these out so that I wasn't overwhelming myself. So let's go with the magenta and the teal for our second print.
And Tanya, we did have one more question.
Yes.
Someone was asking if you're using a shrink film that's textured on one side but shiny on the other, what side are you using to print on?
This is just a clear one. I think you're referring to a sanded shrink film. I am not sure if that's available on the Michaels website, but this one is the same on both sides. So the paint will have enough of a grab to transfer onto your plastic surfaces. So you can paint on, like I said, if it stays still long enough, I will try and print on it. So you can print on fabric, you can print on glass, on metal, on all sorts of plastics. So this is the same on both sides. Is a print on shrink permanent, or do you need to add something? You can seal it afterwards with either gel medium. And I know that there are some really amazing shrink plastic artists out there who put resin on their on any art that they've done on their gel plates, on their shrink films to preserve it. But I tend to normally just use gel medium to seal it in, if that kind of makes sense. Yes, there is a printable type of shrink film. There are a couple of other brands available on the Michaels website, but I personally prefer this Grafix one because of the thickness of it when I shrink it. So now I've got a couple of other things here that I can do some interesting textures with. So now I've got some fruit packaging here that I am just going to lay down on top of the gel plate. And so anything that is soft and that you can use to make texture on your gel plate, you should try using. Like, we have a joke around at our house that my husband has to check with me before he can throw anything away in the recycling, because I will always like to think about what it would look like as a gel print. So I knew that this would make a very, very interesting gel print. So I am just pressing it down to make sure that my paint is transferring. So with plastic, you need to be a little bit more firm to make sure that the paint transfers. So I've got some paint on there now, but what I am after really is the stuff that's left on there. So I'm just gonna grab another sheet of shrink plastic. I've got a small piece here that I can use. And then I'm gonna place my piece of paper on top so that I don't get any mess on my hands. What is the gel medium that you can use to seal? So I like using Liquitex gel mediums. The Liquitex gel mediums both come in glossy and matte. I prefer the matte because the acrylic paint, when you do gel printing with it, it goes matte. So now I'm gonna lift this up. And there you can see all the dried paint that was already on the gel plate that's lifted, as well as the texture of that food packaging that's come on there. I don't know if you guys can see. Is it focusing? Kind of. So Madison is putting down any links to any supplies that I'm using over here. So I'm just making sure that I'm lifting all the wet paint that's on here. And any of these clean-off papers that I have, I can just keep using to do collage. Okay, so we're doing teal, aren't we? So let's put down some paint. And spread it all over the surface. And when you're doing layers, it's also worth noting how opaque your paints are with the second layer. Because if a paint is translucent, like this, the golden paints and the Liquitex paints, it's listed on their website, on the bottles, whether they're opaque or not. So I'm just going to do that same masking technique again, but instead of bubble wrap, I am going to use some eyelash yarn, or you could use any kind of textured yarn that you have to get your impression on the plate. And again, I repeat, please don't use anything sharp on your gel plate. because you don't want to damage the surface of your gel plate. So basically you can use pretty much any medium that you can think of on the gel plate. I like using acrylic paints because of the way that they apply. And the only thing that it's not advisable to use is anything that's sharp. And you should never put heat on your gel plate as well. Are there any questions, Madison?
We just actually got one question in. Let me read it. Do you keep the pigment to only one side of the shrink plastic, or is there an advantage to printing on both sides for a layering effect?
Well, what you can do is I will show you what it is to print on the other side as well. Because when the shrink plastic shrinks, then you can layer your paint on both sides and you can get like a layered effect because of the thickness of the shrink film. So I'll show you how that works. So I've got this one here as well now. And then let me just see if I can lift some of that paint on there. That's pretty dry. I'm gonna remove that eyelash yarn. Again, I've still got all that delicious paint on there. And you can just keep repeating the process over and over again. And personally, for me, this is like meditation. Because once you start, it's very, very hard to stop. So what I'm doing is I'm just doing a ghost print so that I can lift all of that paint that's on there. And then I can use it for future collage material. So for a ghost print, what you're looking for is you can do your ghost print in any color. I'm just using white so that the color underneath stays true to color. And you wear a very thin layer of paint on. Let's see if this works, because again, like I said, it's very dry today. So my paints are behaving in a slightly different way today. So maybe it might work. Let's see. And the thing is that I do highly encourage you to keep practicing, because I've been gel printing for almost 10 years now. And I've had a lot of practice. And I still don't get prints that I'm happy with. So here you can see that some of the paint most of the paint is lifting off, which is great. And then here I've got a lovely grungy painting mess here that is great for, I can chop this down, I can cut out a heart shape or a flower, and I can make a card with this. So this has actually been a very productive session, guys, because I have collage paper now. So now what we're gonna do is I will also show you. Let me do a quick another print. How much time have we got? We're good for time.
We have about 25 minutes. Yes, you're doing good.
Okay. So let's do another print. And what I've done is to save time, I have cut out a piece of shrink film, and I just went online and I found a butterfly outline, and then I cut this out. And you can also use like a lid of anything or a bowl and cut out your own shapes as well. So this way you can create your own shapes as you wanted to, or you could stamp on it with an ink that is good for using on non-porous surfaces. What shall we do for texture? So I've got some this is just a box that you can rip the layer off, and then you've got this lovely honeycomb-like texture underneath. And this makes some really nice prints. This is one of my favorite things to use. And then I am placing my butterfly shape on there as well. And I'll place my circle on there as well. And let's do a print on here like this. And then you can cut out like different shapes to use as silhouettes as well, like I did with the circle moss. So you see that the butterfly shape and the circle shape again form a moss. Where you will be left with some negative space. There you can see that the outline of the butterfly on there, as well as the circle on my collage paper. So I'm just going to lift this up. And I've got my print transferred on the shrink film. And lift up the circle as well. And we'll do one more print, and let me try the purple on top of that. The collage paper, yeah, I'm definitely going to share this afterwards on social media, because sometimes what happens is your clean off papers turn out better than the actual print, and that's okay. That's okay. That can be a fun thing to have as well. And so this is a fluid acrylic. So I've got a really thin layer on here. I'm going to have to work fast with this because I don't want this to dry. And I've got some pill packaging here. So if you watched the previous live that my fellow brand ambassador Birgit did, she shows all sorts of fun textures that you can use to create your gel prints. And that is available on the Michael's YouTube channel. And another fun video replay that you can watch is by my, again, fellow brand ambassador, Marsha. And she did some gel printing on fabric. So she made some beautiful cards. So if you had any questions about, what can I print on, be sure to check out the Michael's YouTube channel. And you will see all sorts of inspiration on there. Yep, Madison's just dropped down some links in the comments for you guys to check out later. And again, I'm still working on that grungy clean off paper. And I can lift that up. And I've got this beautiful hint of a color on there. So I'm just going to set this aside to dry. It doesn't take very long because it's very, very thin layers. Now what I'm going to do is, because I'm going to be heating my shrink film, I'm going to place my gel plate to the side, because you don't want to heat your gel plate in any way. So now let's bring back the big sheets that we did. Which one shall we make some jewelry with? So we did this one. And the other one that we did was this one. So I think let's make some earrings out of this one first. And then I'll show you guys some tips and tricks on how you can shrink your film. So what I'm going to do is I could probably use a pencil because the acrylic paint will grab onto the pencil. So I've just put down some marks. I'm not really sure if they're going to show up on camera. But if I put a mark out, so, and about 2 lines there. So I'm just marking out 2 shapes to cut out. So I'm for the first earrings that I'm making, I'm just making some very simple rectangular earrings. And when you're cutting shrink film, you need to be really careful that you don't have any sharp jagged edges, because when it shrinks down, it can get quite sharp. So it's better that when you do cut it down, do make sure that your edges are as smooth as possible. So I'm making sure to cut my sheet down in one straight line. You can use a trimmer as well. It's very easy to cut. And if I cut this down here like that, and let's make a rough sizing like that. And then I'm just going to use the same shape and cut my second piece out so that they're both the same size. So now I've got my 2 pieces here. So my designs are more like distant cousins rather than sisters, but they are mixed media jewelry. And we love that about mixed media jewelry, that they don't necessarily have to match. So before shrinking them, I am using a corner chomper to round off my edges. You don't have to, but I kind of like how it looks. I'm going to round all 4 corners. Are there any questions while I am doing this?
It doesn't look like we have any questions at this time.
Okay. Okay. So now I've got my shapes cut out, and I'm using a crocodile to cut my holes. And I'm going to make sure that they're as close to the edge as possible, but with a little bit of room. I'm going to use the larger hole actually. You can punch your hole after you've shrunk it as well, but it's better to do it before. I mean, you could do it with your crocodile because it's strong enough, but the film can crack. So if you don't want to do to have any cracking film, then punch your hole beforehand. So now the instructions for the shrink film are that you can shrink this in the oven, and what you can do is you can place it inside some parchment paper so that it won't curl up and attach to itself. Now what I found is I prefer to do it with a heat tool, and I've got some chopsticks here. You can use some pencils as well to hold your shape down while you're heating it, and that sort of helps to stop it from curling too much and sticking. What size are the shapes? So my shape sizes are approximately 2.75 inches by 2 inches. That is the approximate size. What tool did you use for the edges? I used the corner chomper. So this is it's pretty sturdy, and you can round the corners of chipboard as well. So now I've got a piece of parchment paper underneath, or anything, like you can use a baking sheet as well. So anything that will stop the shrink film from sticking to itself. And what I'm going to do is, this might get loud, I do apologize. And I'm going to be using some chopsticks to hold down my shrink film. So I'm going to let my heat tool warm up first, and then we will start shrinking. And then what I'm doing is I'm moving my heat tool all over so that the shrink film piece gets heated evenly. So while it's still warm, this is very, very hot. This is how my chopsticks will come in handy. And I will uncurl it a little bit, get the heat back on. That makes it softer. And then what you need is you take something like an acrylic block or a stamp block and just press it down to flatten it out. You can also use a spatula. Yes, you can use a toaster oven. That's how we used to do it when shrink plastic first came out. We used to do it over a toaster oven. Do you have any control over where you heat it? Not really, but that can be fun as well, if that kind of makes sense. So this is why it's important to work on a surface that doesn't stick. So you can see that it's shrunk down to that size, and this is what the original size was. So you can see that the colors are more intense as well. And this it's shrunk down to, I would say, a quarter of its size, something like that. Maths is not my strongest subject, sorry. So I'm just going to heat set the second one as well. Again, I'm using my chopsticks. I'm just going to heat set that. While it's still hot, I take my acrylic block and just press it down to flatten it out. Sometimes it does get stuck to the acrylic block, but you can use, oops, wanted to go fly away. And there you can see what it looks like together. So does what is it one size only? Well, it will depend on how big of a piece you cut, so it will shrink down accordingly. You will have to have a plate, and then you can shrink it down. So how are we doing for time, Madison?
It looks like we have just about 10 minutes left.
Okay, okay. Let me show you guys how to attach the earring findings. And then maybe I could do one more, whoops, one more shrink, film embellishment. So I've got some fish hook earrings, I believe they're called in English. And the trick to opening it, you hold it upside down and you twist it sideways so that the hook sort of opens up. I don't know if you're going to be able to see that on camera or not, but I've opened it up ever so slightly. And then you need to decide which way you want your earring to face. So I want to face this way. So I want to make sure that the hook is facing the other direction. And then you just slip your embellishment on. And then all you need to do is you just hold it in place with your jewelry pliers and just close the hook like that. And that's how you can create your own earrings. So I'm just going to do that again. You do it to the side, and that opens up your hook. And then just orientate. I'm just orientating myself so the hook is towards the back. And then I can just slip the hook on. Okay, I need to open it a little bit more. It's a bit stingy with opening that. And then just slip it on and then hold it from one side. And with the other, just close the loop back. And then what you can do is, I don't know, can I zoom in? Yes, I can zoom in. There we go. Hope that's a bit better. And then what you can do is you can apply, you could decorate it with a Posca marker. These are some of my favorite markers. And then you can make all sorts of designs. You could do mark making, whatever kind of mark making you like. I'm just doing some simple lines. We'll do the same for the other one. And you can use different colors, but because I've got so many textures and colors going on already, I am just keeping my marks as simple as possible. And what you can do is you can use some book text. So I bought a really inexpensive book from the charity shop. And what I like to do is I like to just maybe highlight maybe a couple of words here and there and just stick those down onto your earrings with some matte medium. And what you could do is you could use all sorts of markers. You could use glitter to decorate your earrings as well. I've sometimes varnished them with some glitter nail polish as well. So I'm just using some matte medium to attach the book text on as well. So, I mean, it doesn't take very long. I did some extra prints, but if you were to do just one print, you could have your very own custom made mixed media gel printed earrings or jewelry within a few minutes. So, and then you can continue adding as many and more elements as you want. So here, some earrings that, these are the earrings that we made today. Here is another set that I made earlier. And here is another one that I did. So it could be you learn the next step, or the next step you learn if you're Yoda. You can make pendants as well. So I just looped some twine. I did doodle some Essimic handwriting, some scribbly handwriting, and then a board that I printed out. And like this one here, somebody asked the question, would it matter what direction you printed on? So with these two, I don't know if you can tell, but I started off with the yellow on the back side first, and then I continued printing on the front. So then you can see that shine on there coming through on the yellow, with the other colors matte. So, and then it's the possibilities are endless, and just you could pretty much gel print on any surface that you can think of. And there you have it. And this is what the demonstration was. And can the camera be flipped around, please? Hey everyone, thank you so much for joining us today. Are there any questions, first of all, before I log off? Let me just open up the chat as well, just to check. Can you varnish them? Yes, you can varnish them. You could seal them with gel medium. You can, I've seen other people use resin as well. You can use some kind of fixative as well, which is something that you could use for multiple surfaces. Can you show us a side view so that we can see the thickness? Yes. Let me close this. So it's quite thick. I would say it's definitely a millimeter. It's millimeter. It's quite sturdy. They're actually quite substantial things to have. So I've just put one on now that just to demonstrate. But yeah, it's very satisfying to make your own jewelry. You could make something for one for every outfit. And not only did we make jewelry, we made some beautiful prints as well. Some messy prints that we can use for collage. I really love this one actually. I think I might use this as an art journal page. Just opening up the chat again to see if there's any questions. When do you apply the gel medium? I would apply it now after you've done everything. Yes, you can use whatever you have. Yes, it looks like a fingerprint. Anyway, thank you very much everyone for watching. If you have any questions, then please do let us know. A replay of this demonstration will be up on the Michael's YouTube channel. Make sure to follow us on social media as well, on Facebook as Gelli Arts and on Instagram as @GelliArts. And my name is Tanya Ahmed, and you'll see my name as well. And you can follow me on Instagram. We're doing a lot of gel printing these days. My fellow brand ambassador, Birgit Koopson, is doing a gel printing challenge this month. Please do join us and as we play along. The next Zoom class for Michael's is the 17th of May. Birgit Koopson is going to be joining, and Marsha Walk is going to be joining us on the 1st of June. Yes, that was a Posca pen. Thank you so much for watching. Take care and have a great day. Thanks. Bye.